Good day. This is the 14th episode of the Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. Let's get right into it with a review of the papers. Now, the Sunday Observer leads with the smoke around the cannabis industry that is preventing its full flowering and growth as part of a world $3 trillion industry. That's the cover of the Sunday Observer. Now, in ganja industry coughing, Andrew Clunis digs into a thick forest of regulations through which farmers and business operators must slash to get their cannabis enterprise going legally. The Sunday Observer's other main story is the killing of 4 people in 48 hours in Norwood, a long-troubled Montego Bay community. That's the story, Norwood bloodbath. On another day, they might have led with that story, but the country has perhaps become tired of the blood, and its nerves have become calloused by the violence. Elsewhere in the Observer, Professor Stephen Vassiani takes to the reparation issue. And this column is called Reparations for Enslavement. Now, Professor Vassiani makes clear that though a moral case for reparations is sound and has been made out, a case under international law now may be something else again. And this column is worth a read. Across the page is one of the rare criticisms of Dr. Nigel Clark, the finance minister. And this piece is the unwise, delusional doctor at finance. And doctor is deliberate. Now to the Sunday Gleaner. It takes on ECJ selling voters' data. And it's a story about paid verification access given to credit bureaus and other financial institutions to the database of the ECJ, that's the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. Now, even if the trains don't return to the regular tracks for passenger service between Montego Bay and Kingston, for example, which some of us would believe would have a far greater benefit than just romantic historical notions, we are told that passenger rail service is likely to run again on a commercial basis between Montego Bay and Appleton in St. Elizabeth for the purpose of carrying tourists. And that's where Mark Titus takes us. In his story, St. James anticipates revival of rail. Now, so he goes to Catadupa and Cambridge stations in St. James, associated with the first rail service in the British Empire, where the beautiful architecture and art are rotting. And he speaks with some people who have memories of great commercial activity around the stations. Then the Gleaner provides an editorial that's bound to be referred to years from now. The editorial writer regrets that the timetable for the transition from the monarchy will not be in time for this year's independence observations. But with focus and seriousness, we could get there by next year, August 2023. And that's fast-tracking the Republic. Fast-tracking the Republic. Now to news analysis. Last week was full of issues about the monarchy, slavery, and reparations. We had a lot of discussions too about the merits of reparatory justice and even about whether the royal couple, William and Kate, should have visited Jamaica. But I wanted to give a close-up look, a takeaway from the regurgitated pro and con arguments. So I called on 2 women, one from Shorter Teachers College, visited by the couple. I asked Dr. Janet Williams, Director of Marketing and Communication, about what the visit meant to the college. After establishing the college's bona fides and its reputation in early childhood education, she went on to talk about how students took it. How do the students feel about the fact that this is a visit of a monarch who many Jamaicans are saying is irrelevant to the country now? How did they feel? Did they express any sentiments about that?
No, I didn't get much into irrelevance. For them, they're excited. First of all, let me just rephrase a little bit because the interaction that I saw, the students are particularly surprised of the humility of both of them in terms of the kind of discourse, dialogue they had, the shaking of the hand, how they greeted them. So you didn't get that air of you can't touch me, you can't be close to me. You know, in other spaces, for example, here in Jamaica, certain what you call it, elitists of our country don't get too close. You necessarily would get a shake and necessarily unless it's something else that is happening. And so they were particularly surprised how close up they really could have been to have a kind of discourse with both the Duchess and the Duke. So I thought that, and the students are not caught up into the reparation issues and all. They understand it, but their thing is that something has happened, and one student said, well, really, things do happen. We just have to find a way of seeing how, with our collective efforts, we can get what Jamaica needs to get justly, and we do what we need to do because of us, I said, mature, the older population, I think we hold on to a lot of things, and unless we really see, look here, things happen, and we just have to see going forward. Yes, express the forgiveness and so on.
So, do you
Right.
believe it was appropriate for these young leaders to be on the monarchy, taking the monarchy and absorbing it within their space? In other words, accepting it, welcoming it within their space.
Yes, based on what I gather on the ground for the students, that's the sentiment that I got from them. And they were happy to talk about the strategies that we are using now, especially for young minds committed to growth and enlightenment for young minds. How is it we are preparing our students? What the deficits are in terms of the pandemic, and what is it we are going to be doing going forward? And it's not just a short to teachers college now. Education right across the world would have been having the same kind of challenges. So
Yes.
the students were very, very open-minded. I too was surprised at the open-mindedness and the objectivity of the students on a very broad scale.
Okay. That's Dr. Janet Williams, Director of Communications and Marketing at Shortwood Teachers College. Now, it was not just the Shortwood College community that was there for the visit on Wednesday. Mary White, author and sales consultant at Crystal Cameron Designs, just went to get a glimpse, she says, of the royals, and she came away impressed. Now, Mary, you went to Shortwood to meet the royals or to at least get a look at the royals. Why did you do that?
I thought it was a momentous occasion and I wanted to be a part of that history.
Okay, so having gone there, what was it like for you? What was it like?
It was actually a very inspiring occasion for me. I saw the royal couple together, the dynamics between them. I was especially interested in the Duchess because as a woman, we are gravitated towards women to see how to be our better selves by watching the cues from other women. And Catherine was very, very dignified. And I have taken some cues from her, how to be a better melanin queen, so to speak.
Yes, but people are saying, but we don't have to listen to the royals or look at the royals to determine that we are royal ourselves.
Absolutely, we're royal. We're all royal in our own right, but they are official. They have the official title of royal, and they do have business here in Jamaica, and they do have a right to be here. So it's good to take cues from your heads because they are the heads of state for Jamaica on record.
You still take that seriously, the fact that they're head of state. The Queen is head of state of Jamaica.
We take it serious. That's why the Governor General sits in that office every day. That's why he oversees the business of Jamaica on behalf of the Queen. So technically, the Queen and her subjects are here every day in the form of the Governor General. But we miss that because he's not white, I suppose.
Okay, so now give me a response to the argument about reparations, about the whole matter of going republic and getting rid of the Queen and her heirs as part of Jamaica's identity.
I don't have a problem with Jamaica wanting to become a republic, and I don't think the Queen has a problem either. As we have seen, other countries such as Barbados and Canada, who were under the British monarchy, has done the paperwork necessary to become republics with the Queen's blessing. So Jamaica needs the political will and the will of the people to start the process.
That was Mary White, author and sales executive. Now here is Desmond Richards with his input for Crosstalk.
We are moving on. What the hell does that mean? Prime Minister Andrew Holness should have told the British King in waiting that, listen, we are ending the reign of the Queen as head of state in Jamaica. In August, 60 years after our so-called independence, along with a demand letter for reparations. You know, listen, I don't trust the process chosen to end the Queen's reign as head of state in Jamaica. I don't trust that process, I'm sorry to say. For example, how many labor rights and comrades who voted in the last general elections and are certain to vote in any referendum in Jamaica are aware that following the abolition, the British government, using the proceeds of the slave trade, paid the planters £20 million. This huge sum of money. We only completed the payment in 2015. 2015. In addition to that, how many of these same voters are aware that following the slave rebellion in 1804, 2 decades after that successful revolution, that the French government sent 12 warships along with a demand letter to the French leadership, demanding 150 million French francs, which is equivalent to 21 billion US dollars in today's currency. If that amount of money was not paid, Haiti would have been flattened. It took them 122 years, ending in 1947, to pay off that debt. British industry, its economy, banking, insurance. As a matter of fact, the entire industrial revolution was financed from the blood, sweat, and tears of the slaves, the black slaves. And to date, not even 1 cent. Moving along, we want a process that will cut our relationship. Cut the Queen as head of state of Jamaica immediately.
That's Desmond Richards. I don't think we need to waste time about whether we should become a republic. That is to move away from having the British monarch as head of state in Jamaica. We should have long ago gone beyond that. It's in our province to do so. It's a long time we have had notice from within Jamaica about the high level and prevalence, the pervasive self-hate among Jamaicans. We see it not just in the killings and the crime, but we see it in the poor, abysmally poor service we offer to each other. We see it in the bleaching. We see it in the conduct on the streets. We see it in how noisy we need to be to disturb others without consequence or to attract attention. The crying out for what Rex Settleford called smaditization. We see it everywhere, and we see it expressed by whoever put up the fence to separate the royal couple from the people in Trenchtown. There was no such fence in Bahamas, where Prince William was able to stoop and greet children. We see it in how ugly we have allowed our public spaces to become, how nasty habits have overtaken us, the way we dispose of garbage. Now, getting rid of the monarch as head of state won't solve all those, but it's full time. And as for an apology and for reparations, we should continue to pursue them because they are right to do. We deserve them after the Holocaust of slavery and the transatlantic trade in enslaved people. Now, to frankly speaking, I'm turning to crime not because, as some would suggest, we should deal with that and leave the royals alone. No, not such useless arguments. I'm turning to crime this week, frankly speaking, because it is important to do so and to remind us that even with some guns seized, an increased number, a slight dent in the murder rate, a decreased number, police arresting 5 of their own as recently as Friday as part of the Ranko gang in Clarendon, I want to remind that we must keep crime front and center as a necessary place to start, to removing it as a shackle on the development of this nation. I said last week, and also in recent weeks on this podcast, frankly speaking, every week in Jamaica, we seem to have some great tragedy regarding our children and our women. This past week, there were several painful events. On Thursday, we had the death by fire of two siblings, 3-year-old Abigail and 4-year-old Kayla Tomlinson in Racecourse, Clarendon. The script was not the same as the many deaths by fire of children over recent years, although it was similar in the regard that the children were left home alone, not by a negligent mother or father. The mother had just gone next door to deliver a meal to her working spouse when fire ripped through that house. And then again, the business of children being victims of violence. First, 16-year-old Kamal Hall of William Knibb High School in Trelawney was stabbed and killed by a schoolmate who was also 16 years old. Their fight was over a guard ring. The tragedy is deepened because this is 2022, and high school boys might well be expected to spit on any supposed guard or protective attributes of a ring. But frankly speaking, the gangs and scammers are infiltrating the minds of our young. And then, frankly speaking, the worst story to me this week was that of 16-year-old boy Kenute Williams from Papine High School in St. Andrew. He was making his way to school when he was set upon apparently by more than one teen, shot 3 times and his cell phone taken. Frankly speaking, everything you hear tells you that this boy troubled no one. He was an introvert, a loner, a bright student, a focused student. Frankly speaking, journalists have exposed the pain behind this. The boy's mother, Carolyn Robinson, was set to marry Kenute Williams' father just 3 days later on Saturday. She said she had prepared his clothes for the big day. As far as we know, the wedding went ahead. The day for dreams and celebration went ahead with unimaginable pain to mom and dad, bride and groom. As Miss Robinson said, in her own words, she refused to allow the misguided criminal teens who robbed her of her son to derail her public expression of love and commitment. Frankly speaking, we must keep addressing the violence in our midst, insist on our leaders to make it a constant target as we seek to become a self-confident, successful people, a self-respecting, peaceful people, not just so given to noise, the noise you've been hearing. Thank you for sharing time with me again this week for Frankly Speaking Jamaica podcast. Please share the link to this video and go on the channel and comment. Tell us what you like or don't like and any issue you think we should take on. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't done so yet, please do. Until then, I'm Franklin McKnight. Good day.